You are welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and our partners, the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda and the Institute of Banking and Financial Services of Uganda. I'm called Mustafa Mugisa and I'm the team leader at Summit Consulting, and I am on the call with my co-director, Pius Babiesiza. Pius, please say hi to the people on this call.
Thank you very much, Mustafa.
Good afternoon once again, our attendees.
Okay, so today we are going to launch Project Frontline 2020. This report details the state of cybersecurity in Uganda and in the region at large, and also we shall share with you global perspectives. But before we go deep into the report, which I know many of you are going to learn a lot, the 1 hour you're going to spend here will be equal to, I would say, maybe what most people spend maybe 3 months trying to learn and get ahead of cybersecurity. So I would like to introduce Goreti Masade, one of our partners from the Uganda Institute of Banking and Financial Services. Since you have been a partner in this project, I would like you to say some opening remarks, and thereafter we shall have a word from Mr. Derek Nkaja, CPA Derek Nkaja from the Institute of the ICPAU Uganda, Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda. So back to you. Sorry to you, Goret. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barnabas, and I would like to really congratulate you and your team on this very great achievement. And I'm doing so on behalf of the board and management and staff of the Institute. We know that this report sits right at the center of many business concerns at the moment. And we are excited to partner with you in this regard, and of course, many more going forward. Just to say a very good afternoon to everybody who is on the call, and I hope that they get as many insights as I have already got in terms of interacting with you in a very short time. For the Institute, it's key because our stakeholders, that is banks and financial service organizations, as well as the public, are heavily affected by cybersecurity and cybercrime at the same time. So while technology is great for business and efficiency and growth, the risk of cybercrime may reverse all its benefits. So the risk for business disruption, including finance, reputation, trust, sustainability, to mention but a few, is immense, as I've got to learn. And our mandate being to promote professionalism and inclusion among providers and users of service, of financial services through education, consultancy, and research makes this very important for us. So this kind of report, Mustafa, is going to enable us to establish a number of areas of focus for training and engagements with our stakeholders, also enable us to empower users to better protect themselves. As you know, we have an awareness month coming up, and we have digital literacy as one of the key pillars. So you can imagine how important this is to us. But also ultimately to be better players in the industry regarding this global issue, which is not really specific to any organization. So thank you very much, Mustafa, and congratulations once again with your team. And I wish the audience good listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Goreti, for those kind words and also for your partnership. I would like to now introduce Derek Nkaja. Derek is the Chief Executive Officer at the Institute of Public Accountants of Uganda. He's one of our partners. Derek, if you are on call, please say something.
Mustafa, if I may.
Please. Yeah, okay.
This is Mark
welcome.
From ICPAU.
Sure.
I was just speaking to Derek. He was having some trouble with his connection. He logged in, but for some reason his audio is not working. And he was trying to troubleshoot, and it was taking longer than he thought. So he promised to join in at some point, but asked me to step in case he fails to log in. So on behalf of ICPAU, we want to thank the Summit team for the work you've done in this project. I think it's a very exciting development. It's not very usual that we have our own Ugandans undertake such an important study and publish, some thought-provoking results that should inform different policymakers and stakeholders on the state of cybersecurity within the country and the region. Certainly, cybersecurity is a very big and an important issue for different institutions, but also for professionals, such as those that we regulate and those that are members of the institute. We have a very strong interest in promoting awareness around cybersecurity, in equipping our own members with the ability to provide competent advice in this area, and supporting the institutions that they work for, and delivering the different services that they need as consultants in their own right. So we want to congratulate Summit Consulting for this important piece of work. We look forward to receiving the results of your study and the recommendations or action points that you have raised, and any areas that we can provide support and direct input in as a professional body. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and we are excited and looking forward to the results of this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark, for standing in for the CEO. Anytime he comes on, please, we shall give him the opportunity to make maybe closing remarks. And we'd like to go deep into the report. But first, we look at the methodology. How did we do it, and what is the basis of the statistics? So if you see, we ran an online survey first, and we are happy that we had 502 respondents. Out of these 502, 74 were from the region, that is Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and of course Southern Sudan. Burundi, did we have any from Burundi?
Burundi, yes, 6%.
6% from Burundi. And so in addition to the online survey, we had we are going to share frontline experience. Frontline experience means, so that is we conducted 451 assignments across 204 clients, and out of that, 40 of the assignments were outsourced to us. This means that another contractor gets an assignment and maybe makes use of our forensic lab or engages us as partners, and we're always very happy to do this kind of work. So 60% of the assignments are the assignments we have directly been involved in, but also assignments which our associates have been involved in. And based on this, it gives us a very good experience at the front line. I want you to imagine a general going to war and having the soldiers in at the front line fighting where the exchange is taking place. So there is no better person to speak about how the war was tough or was an easy win other than the soldiers who have been at the front line where fire has been being exchanged. So we always share these experiences last year to give clients and the general public high-level awareness of the common attack vectors which we find in the field, of the responsiveness after a cyber attack when we follow. Most of the time there is a poor general level of responsiveness at client, and people expect us as forensic experts or cyber professionals to be magicians. If you don't have basic hygiene, for example, if you have not set up maybe access control at your home and maybe invested in some camera, or your children, you have told them to be alert, it is very difficult to recover your stolen TV if somebody steals it, because there is no community vigilance, there is no home vigilance, there is no gate access controls, everything is just open. So the same thing, when we go to clients and maybe money has been lost and now they want to know who did what, where, when, and how, but then they practiced poor cyber hygiene. It becomes very, very difficult, and through this experience sharing, we hope clients are able, clients and those who are not yet clients are able to understand how to keep yourself secure online. So, so out of this, I'm just on the next slide. We are going to look at, as you have seen, the national perspective. We shall also look at the global perspective. We shall look at the summit survey, and then, of course, the common attack vectors. And then also we shall look at the future of cybersecurity. And I'm going to present this with my colleague, Pius, and I'll tell Pius to just come in right away. So, Pius, back to you.
Thank you very much, Mustafa.
Just to put this into perspective, on the participants, the 502 participants that we got, the bigger percentage was from Uganda as a country, that is 30%, but we also sorted these participants by IP address, and 20% of our participants were from the global, that is outside of the East African community. In the East African community, we had Uganda at 30%, we had Rwanda at 20%, because we conduct quite a number of assignments in Rwanda. Tanzania was the least at 8%. And for the 451 assignments that we conducted in the 204 clients, the biggest bulk of that were BOU agreed upon procedures, and they were a total of 176 assignments, accounting for 39%, followed by black box pen tests. And for the uninitiated black box pen test, this is where you are testing the security of an IT system from outside. You are approaching it from the angle of an adversary, a hacker, and those accounted for 34%. The smallest percentage of these assignments were digital forensics, and digital forensics accounted for only 12%. And the reason being that when it comes to digital forensics, many of the cases are actually, not reported and taken on, because organizations want to protect their reputation. And even the few that are reported on, the clients do not know how to handle the data. So you find that the evidence has been mishandled, and it cannot even be admissible in courts of law. So the total cases that we handled, the total value was 171 billion Uganda shillings. That's the total value of the 451 cases that we handled in the period. Thank you. Now, before we get to leave the source of our information, I would like to talk briefly about the Uganda Police Crime Report. According to the Uganda Police Crime Report for 2019, a total of 11.4 billion Uganda shillings was the value of the cases that were reported to Uganda police. And of these 11.4 billion Uganda shillings, only 51 million Uganda shillings was recovered. So basically what that means is that once a cyber incident gets to happen and the loss is registered or incurred, the chances of recovery are very minimal, because in this particular case you can actually say less than half a percent of the money lost to cyber crime in 2019 was lost. 99.6% was.
There was an echo. If you can adjust and correct it,
is what was recovered. And I want to draw your attention to the total number of cases, the value of the cases that were reported to Uganda police versus the total value of the cases that we handled. To Uganda police, only 11.4 billion Uganda shillings was reported, But what we handled in our assignments during the year was 171 billion Uganda shillings. What does this mean? And what does this show? This clearly shows you that the very biggest bulk of cyber incidents and cyber losses actually goes unreported to the authorities. It goes uncaptured, okay? And that's why it ends up not being, referenced in the national records. Uganda police only recorded 11.4 billion Uganda shillings, whereas the cases we handled as Summit Consulting and as just one firm is 171 billion Uganda shillings. How much was recovered? To us, that is confidential information. With our clients, we are not able to reveal that. I thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Clarence. So, okay.
We missed everything you said.
As you can imagine, the general trend of reporting is not there. So there's no, maybe you could say, based on the data. You see, for us, we look at the data and make decisions which are backed up by data. So when you analyze the reports which have been published, somebody could infer that probably there is no dedicated team and mechanisms to report cybercrime cases. I don't know why someone says I cannot be heard. Hope somebody can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. So the cost of cybercrime is increasing, that is without doubt, but there seems to be lack of consistency in the reporting. So going forward as a country and also at the Uganda Police, it is very good. A lot of growth developments have been done, but there also needs to be maybe collaboration with the SAT, which we know government of Uganda established a computer emergency response team. So if this computer emergency response team is combined with the Uganda Police cybercrime team, so that reporting is unified, and then there is also consistency, that would do a lot to provide a clearer picture of the extent of the problem. The problem with cybercrime, we usually equate it to rape. Many of the victims, they go without reporting it, and that's why you see the trend lines do not make sense. I don't know why someone keeps saying I cannot hear you. So next slide. Going forward, that is very, very important to make sure that that is done. So if you look at the state of personal security in the country, unfortunately for some reason, I am next to my colleague and my slides on the computer take a drag. I hope you have seen a new display of the slide which shows the state of personal security in the country. If you look at the online behaviors, you have many people being vulnerable to common attack vectors like click attachments, like connecting to public Wi-Fi, running and patched software, and of course not having what we call basic cyber hygiene like endpoint security. So this is very bad because at the moment, if you see people, they have failed to have that basic awareness of staying safe online. And the problem with cybercrime, not only it affects your personal privacy and also your personal rights to privacy, it could expose you to unnecessary problems. We get so many requests for support, despite being a private entity, where somebody comes and says somebody on Facebook has maybe impersonated us, or somebody on Facebook is asking us for ransom because at home during this COVID, people went into providing internet access to their children. So these children begin sharing information because there's no internal monitoring mechanisms to these children. So you find that at the end of the day, the child is made to undress, take a personal video of themselves bathing or naked, sharing it with the other person, thinking that maybe these are friends. And once this is shared, and because by the time a cyber criminal attacks you, they have done what we call footprinting and reconnaissance. They have done some background information about you. So you find some people who are under attack and have some money, and they end up maybe giving in to this kind of ransom requests. So phishing, which is one of the elements of clicking on attachments, is one of the worst online behaviors. Now we are in an area of politics, whereby people are sending pictures of the candidates, they are sending videos, and the first instinct when you see this video, you begin clicking. So this means that if you don't have basic cyber hygiene, for example, if you are using a laptop, you enable a non-administrator account so that you cannot download and install it instantly. Or even if you are using a smartphone, for example, you have installed the applications for basic user security, so that apps which come online do not immediately install unless you have deliberately decided it. So you disable background installations. So you find that many people are becoming very vulnerable at that level. But also online safety and the online security is very important at personal level, because currently we have what we call, even if you are less important, we have what we call espionage and cyber weaponry. So globally, many countries, they are investing in a lot in data collection, because data is the resource which is valueless. It is too much value that you can't put a value to it. So if anybody wants to know, for example, what are the people online on Uganda, what do they access? They can get your geolocation, they can get a lot of your information. So they use it as a lot of data, so they get it and can sell it on the black market. So this is being emphasized to make sure that the only patch to human stupidity is the cyber awareness training. And it is very important that we make it our own. If you get on road, you must be able to drive, to know to comply with the traffic laws. You must remain safe. Then there is a bad habit of connecting to public Wi-Fi. People are looking or searching for free Wi-Fi to connect. And instantly, when they find any Wi-Fi, even if they don't know the owner, they connect. Under the laws of Uganda, you cannot have a defense of privacy when you go to somebody's home and are accepted to go to his terms and conditions. If I invite you to my home, and it is very difficult for you to begin telling me the rules you are going to follow. So privacy do not extend to another person's area of influence. So for example, if you go into somebody's Wi-Fi internet, it is you are basically expressly accepting the terms and conditions on being on that Wi-Fi. And once you are accepting to that, they can collect a lot of your data. We see this a lot when we travel on international airports, where people are so, for example, many people, when they go to cities like Dubai, they go to cities like Singapore, they go to cities, even Heathrow, to UK, London, they want to use Wi-Fi without any privacy, and that becomes very difficult. So it is very important that we stay alert, please.
Thank you very much, Mustafa. I'm sure with that insight on the next WhatsApp message that comes to our listeners saying get 150 GBs for free, they will not be able to click it. And on the next email that comes that click here to understand the symptoms of COVID-19, they will not be, they are not likely to click it and expose their information and their data in a bid to get free Wi-Fi or free GB. Back to our experiences and our survey. Let's look at the impact of OTT, over the top services. OTT has been here for a couple of years now. We want to briefly look at the impact of OTT on online safety, because this is a Frontline Project and it's about cybersecurity. We want to see how the introduction of OTT ended up driving people to use VPN, that is virtual private network, and what has been the effect. Now, as part of the numerous surveys that we conduct, it has come out clearly that through the use of VPN, 80% of the people have made an effort to utilize VPN, and only 56% of the original users have entirely remained on the payment of OTT only. But for those who have adopted the use of OTT, because when you use a virtual private network, your activities online are not able to be tracked. Your activities online remain incognito. And for the uninitiated, from this webinar, if you are only to pick one thing, please know that when you utilize VPN to make a connection, you are more secure than a user who has paid for OTT. So in summary, what we realize is that the introduction of OTT resulted in two people migrating onto the use of VPN, even those who had not heard of what VPN is and how it works. And as a result, the security has been a little bit, heightened for those who have moved on to VPN. But it's also important to note that VPN is actually many times used even by cyber criminals. So it's a double-edged sword. In as much as it can improve the online safety for users, it can also be used to masquerade and hide cyber criminals.
Thank you very much, Pius. As you can see, it is very important that you take basic precautions. You can go on. Take basic precautions, but also there was a silver lining in the OTT that meant that at least from a public point of view, there was improved security and safety. So we are going to briefly show you about global perspectives. When we administered our survey, we got 502 survey respondents, and out of that, we were able to identify the IP addresses of the participants based on those ones originating regionally and those originating from globally. But also, as you know, VPN tries to impair the IP address, and you can end up making an error in analysis. So we accept that error in case some of our respondents had accessed the survey using VPN, in which case, excuse me, can you go to the next slide to show it? To make it more clearer. So from the global point of view, as you can see, phishing is more pronounced, and the phishing is mainly people clicking on links which they don't know. They just click. It is like if I want, for example, a certain hacker wants to hack into a given system, and then they will first look who is the system administrator, who is the CEO. They will try to get a lot of information about that. So once they get a lot of information about that, then they will try to set a certain weapon which is ideal for the moment. You remember, a very good soldier understands which weapon to use when. So the same thing, the first step of a hacker is to identify what is the best weapon to use. So we see phishing is becoming more sophisticated, and many people are falling to it. 30% of phishing messages are opened by the target, and 12% of those users open the malicious attachment. So this means that much as companies have taken a lot of steps to try to protect this, the problem is still existing. This means that there must be a lot. We have seen organizations where an email coming from outside is flagged and put a red mark that this is from outside. But now there is the human factor. When an email comes from outside and it is flagged, but maybe it is coming from a person who is your sister or brother whom you know. Because hackers, what they do is when they are doing phishing, they will get another user within the company, change the name, and almost make the same email address. So when you look in the name of the message, you think it is coming from maybe your CEO or from your colleague, and then you click, even despite it being flagged. So that's how new technologies with the artificial intelligence are also being used to fool internal systems set up to manage this problem. But also social engineering, 63 of data breaches originate from internal sources. And we have seen even the most recent cases which have been in the news in the country. It is all about internal sources. Either the insider will give confidential information to the outsiders, or the insider will deliberately do actions to compromise security. For example, if they tell you do not connect a laptop or any computer on the network for which there is a production server. Production server means maybe the server which you use to run secure banking or your ERP applications. So somebody internally anyway connects to the network and connect to the internet. So automatically you become exposed. So that's how hackers are able to do footprinting and of course do it. Then of course we see third-party and supply chain attacks. If I want to attack, for example, a given entity, I will go through somebody whom I know works with you. And that also becomes something which is easy. And then of course, endpoint attacks. Currently, when we had the fully internal working at the office, there was some level of security at the physical space of the office. But when people go off, of course, you are going to use VPN, you are going to use virtual networks. Many of these things are, of course, there's not foolproof security. But many times people, the more they begin getting leeway, the more they try to compromise security. And we see this also attacks becoming a big problem. And finally, ransomware and malware attacks, which are increasingly becoming very important. So, Pius, back to you. We shall be taking questions soon. I see we are halfway to the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just before we leave that slide, I just would like to summarize it. Some of these words might appear technical, but they are really not technical. What is an attack vector? Okay, Mustafa has explained to us the 5 top attack vectors based on our respondents from the global survey. An attack vector is a route. It's a channel that the cyber criminal passes through to launch his attack. I'll use an example. If you are looking after a home, or if you have a home, what are the vectors that thieves use? I'll give you an example. Thieves might use the attack vector of darkness. Most thieves will come through the night. Other thieves will come when it's raining, because there is very limited movement and there isn't much of noise when it's raining. Other attack vectors are the ones who will come home posing as repairmen for this TV, for that gadget, and they will begin hoodwinking the house girl into letting them take certain things. Those are attack vectors. The same attack vectors who could attack your home could be the very same people who have probably previously come and worked on a repair of something, and then they get show up. So even in cybersecurity, the phishing, the social engineering, the third-party supply chains, the ransomware and malware, all these are attack vectors. They are conduits through which cyber criminals pass through to be able to commit their vices. So that is briefly the meaning of okay. Now let's have a brief look at our. We can clearly see that over the years, from the IPs that we clearly identified to be originating not from the East African region, the success level from is the rest of the globe. Getting high. The frequency of what this means is when a cyber criminal launches an attack, the attack might be successful, or in other times the attack might be unsuccessful because of one reason or another. Specifically, if we compare 2018 and 2019, we see an increasing trend. The success rate was 77.2% in 2018. That rose to 78% in 2019. What does this mean for 2020? It means that if the cyber criminals have gotten more agile and good, the rate of success of these cyber attacks will continue increasing, and we've got to be able to protect ourselves. Okay, let's move on to our next slide. And that is the frequency of attacks by industry. We categorized our respondents by industry, and among the industries, the finance and financial services industry was the most prime target. It was worst hit at 22%, and this was followed by the telecom and technology industry. The lowest hit industries included agriculture, real estate, and the automotive industry. So if you are out there and you're attending this launch, and you're in the finance and financial services industry or in the telecom and technology industry, you are at higher risk. You are being targeted by cyber criminals from a global perspective.
Continue. You have said that. So. Okay, so
thank you very much, Pius. Go to the next slide. I think we have finished this one, explaining the classification part.
So of course,
how much is lost per incident? We noticed that from the Uganda police report 10 million or less. When we asked people to tell us how much is lost per incident, 13% told us lost 100 million or less. 38 told us 50 million or less, and of course 49 told us. Your laptop. Told us about 49 million or less. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Can we go to the next slide?
There's an echo.
Okay. So was money lost to cybercrime incidents? Of course, the answer was no. Then Saturday said yes. What we see is that internally the mechanisms for reporting cybercrime in many organizations does not exist. It is until this, and also the recording of cybercrime is only when maybe money has been lost directly. So if money has been lost from a certain bank account, then now somebody will say money has been lost. But they lost money in terms of time to recover. Most of the time, many organizations are responding to cyber threat incidents, and they are spending a lot of money in investigations, but this money is not captured. And that becomes an issue to, for example, quantify the right loss. So all the money which we are reporting to you is about what ourselves we investigated and got to know. So when you look at the incident response, 46 did nothing, kept silent and accepted the loss. So this means that most of the time when somebody loses money, they just do not do anything. And this is mainly prominent in SMEs. The only industry which we know, telecoms and banking, people will do something. We have seen many other organizations which are outside the financial services and also outside telecoms. They lose money through mainly instructions to finance, to wire money to pay suppliers. So this is one of the biggest prevalent. And so these people, they will get a notification from their bankers that we paid this money, or when they go to the account to check a bank statement, they find money has been removed. So many of these people, they don't actually investigate, and that becomes very difficult to recover, but also to give a lesson and also to improve. 8% they've reported the data breach to the law authorities, including police. And then, of course, 38% performed business impact analysis and tried to improve from the incident. And the Commission Cyber Incident Response Procedure to limit the exposure. So you realize that it is still very low to initiate and get people to do the right thing. So also we looked at one of the best way to manage cybercrime from our own experience at the front line is real-time threat intelligence. So we are looking at how are the organizations which are winning managing this. So we realize that there is increasing use of in-house threat intelligence capabilities, which is around 62%, and only 38% are outsourcing. But if you look at year on year, we see an increase in the rate of outsourcing threat intelligence. So why? Because every time when we talk about cybersecurity, you're looking at three objectives of cybersecurity. You're looking at confidentiality, you're looking at integrity, availability, and then of course the other one, non-repudiation. They send off the message not to deny that they sent it. So what we have noted is every time the data integrity has been breached or confidentiality has been breached, there has been 70% chances that there was an insider involvement. So for example, if money is lost from a given bank account, chances that one of the insiders gave this information out is very high. So this is why many organizations globally are now putting a second line of defense on the internal cybersecurity team to make sure that the real-time threat intelligence on the network to know where was the source of attack because most of the time organizations are not able to know where was the attack coming from. Was it from outside, in which case it would have gone through the firewall, or it was from inside? So when these logs of the firewall are completely removed and nobody can know it because maybe insiders were involved, it becomes very difficult for you to know where was the source of the attack. So this is why when you have threat intelligence from an outsider, and what we recommend to our clients is get what we call system log, real-time capture of all the logs from the network, put them to a given location which is outside the access by the internal staff, mainly IT, whichever. So that when you have an incident, you are able to have 100% assurance that at least you are going to know where was the attack originating and what happened. It is like having a crime scene, but you cannot find any DNA material like hair, blood, things like that. It becomes very difficult for you to capture the culprit. But once you have the DNA material, it becomes easier. So threat intelligence, outsourcing, having that threat intelligence as a service is very important to improve. So we would recommend that you do it. The common attack vectors which we see in the market, you can see based on the feedback, is weak and compromised credentials. This means that people are still using weak passwords, especially there is no, we have what we call two-factor authentication. If you are opening a Facebook account or even Google, you are going to be asked to put your mobile phone, so that when you change your password, an SMS comes to confirm, a code comes to confirm if you are the one. Because you have something, you have the phone, and something you know the password. But many people in organizations have implemented applications which are not doing what we call two-factor authentication. Of course, the more factors you have to authenticate, the more secure you are. So this is something which, especially when it comes to third-party applications, when you are doing application programming interface, you are integrating utilities to your network, you are integrating other third-party services to your network. It is very important to have this kind of multi-factor authentication. We are also seeing misconfiguration. People set the system wrongly, and that becomes a line of attack. Data codes, most of the time you go to do an investigation, you find redundant tables within the database because there is no post-implementation review. Pius, back to you.
Thank you very much, Mustafa, for having shed some light on that. Cybercrime is like rape. Very few victims actually get to record, and many organizations do nothing. The time available really for this presentation is squeezed, but we have a detailed report of over 100 pages, which the attendees for this launch will be able to receive hereafter. So we will try to go through quickly the different slides so that we are able to complete, and then we can receive questions and then get to follow up later with the report, and people can read at their own leisure. Controls in key application databases. We asked a question that how do the respondents apply controls in their key applications and databases? And 42% of them said that they conduct monthly tests for effectiveness. Now, this leaves organizations, exposed to cyber crime, because as you will read in our report, we do recommend daily and some even real-time, information checking and data of what is happening in our different networks. We asked our participants another question about data integrity, completeness, and accuracy. How do they assure that these get to remain? And 38% of our respondents responded that they do not conduct assessments for data integrity, completeness, and accuracy. You can imagine how dire the cyber security threat is in the business world and in organizations outside there. These and more questions are clearly and in a detailed manner explained in our report. We also asked our respondents about cyber insurance. Where have they taken on cyber insurance or not? Only 38% had made efforts to take on cyber insurance, and 62% had not taken on cyber insurance. Some had actually not known that there are cyber insurance products available on the market. And that was largely the end of our survey, which has informed the national perspective of the cybersecurity posture in the East African region.
So I think we shall now take on a few questions as we go through. Let us maybe some questions. Let us take questions. There are many things we can present. The future of cybersecurity is well documented. You will see it. I just wanted to speak on the top 5 vulnerabilities because this is very important. And then let us take some questions. So do we have members who have questions we can take? I see our time has run. Yes. So there is a question. Thank you very much for the presentation, and the survey was very insightful. How can we fight against cyber attacks orchestrated by third parties? Thank you very much, Alexander Mayanja. Usually, what we require, what currently globally is being required, is that before you do work with a third party, you ask for their own assurance of security in terms of independent penetration testing, in terms of their own track record of experience. So of course we're having challenges with fintechs who may not have taken security a lot, but they are more focusing about the top line. So they end up putting aside cybersecurity. So this is why many organizations, what they have done is they have got, they are not only doing security assessment in-house, they are looking at the entire attack surface and setting up mechanisms for control. So for third-party attack through that is to make sure that you look at the points of contact and identify the vulnerabilities which they could expose. In our first case of investigations, actually, for example, the fraud which recently happened in one of the, which has been reported extensively in the papers, is something we investigated on way back in 2017. Fraud conducted in 2016, late 2016, and committed money lost immediately on the day of, I think it was Easter period of 2017. Money was stolen using the same way of getting money, transferring it to different mobile phones. And we are happy that banks which were able to fix the minimum recommendations, especially for authentication and management of the administrator password, and also real-time monitoring to avoid insider exposure of the administrator password, helped to avoid some of this problem. So for the third-party risk, easy, manage that relationship. Then there is another question. I don't know where there is an echo coming from. Then there is another question. They said, what is the relationship between OTT and cybersecurity? You want to say something? So you see, with due respect, OTT is a government project to increase the national envelope, and that is very good. But remember, every time when there is an action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So when the government passed the OTT, I don't know whether that is something. Okay. So sorry for that. So every time, so we are just giving insights based on our findings based on OTT and cybersecurity. When you pay OTT, it means that you are going to be given the highway. You are moving in the highway, and everybody can see your car with the number plate. Because now the roadblock has been removed at the telecom level, meaning that you don't have to go, your identity will be shown for every website you will access. However, when you want not to pay OTT, for example, globally there has been investors in internet freedoms, and some of these, but also for free speech. And some of these organizations have come up with open source applications which help not suppress any free voice. So we have seen the development of what we call the TOR browser and the dark web, and also VPNs. And those parties investing in website servers globally distributed to allow connection to the computer, not only through the local, but through other servers distributed globally. So when you use VPN, it means that your connection is going to be saved. It is like moving on a road and your car doesn't have a number plate. So this is why when you use VPN to avoid paying OTT, it means that you are moving in the road maybe at night, so people may not see you. But even if you are moving at night, your number plate is not on the car. So that means that you are roaming on the city, but they can't see you. So if you can do any crime and then you go away with it because nobody can identify you. So this is why other countries, for example, they make sure that it is very important that you actually use you pay the OTT, and that is no explanation about that. So that's the relationship. When we did research before OTT, many people were going online with their identity clear. After OTT, many people got to learn about VPN, about masking their IPs, about these other new technologies. And so they are able to go online, and now you cannot identify them. And we think that development is very interesting. Then there is another, yes. There is a hand. Then we also see which sectors are more affected by cybercrime. We told you it is the financial services and the telecommunications and technology companies, fintechs. I need a classification. Did you say someone using VPN is more secure than paying OTT? We don't want to be got out of context that we are recommending that people should avoid paying taxes. No, we are just showing you the impact of a government policy to raise revenue, how it created awareness to so many people. Before then, many people didn't know about virtual private networks, for example. They didn't know about the TOR browser. They didn't know about the dark web. But after the OTT, many people began asking, and there was a lot of human rights activists giving information about these kind of things. And so we saw increase in uptake of VPN. So the challenge when you have VPN, it makes it very difficult for maybe even for law enforcement. That is the relationship. So clarity on OTT being less secure compared to VPN, I think we have explained on this question. However, you say we don't use Wi-Fi at all, or there is something we can do to protect our info even from using Wi-Fi. First, want to say something on that?
Thank you very much, Mustafa, for having answered those questions. The questions are quite many and they are really interesting, but I just wanted to point out that when you get to read our report, many of these are actually answered, and we've gone ahead to simplify even some of the technical terms. Like, for example, we've spoken about the attack vectors, but a section that we've not spoken about is the top vulnerabilities we found in the market and in response to the survey. We have found sensitive data exposure that is explained and simplified in our report. We have found network security misconfigurations, and this is clearly simplified even for the non-technical person. We have found broken access control as one of the other top vulnerability, and cross-site scripting. It might sound alien, but we've simplified it and made it very easy for any reader to understand. And lastly, using components with known vulnerabilities. In our report, we have also looked at the future of cybersecurity, and in that we've explored about the Internet of Things, the everyday things that we use, the smartwatches that we utilize, the smart TVs, and how cybersecurity will appear going forward. We've done an extensive write-up on big data, the big data that is collected by the telecoms, that is collected by the financial industry, the big data that is collected on our smartphones, and how cybersecurity is likely to appear in future. We've written an extensive article on blockchain. Sounds like a buzzword, but we've really simplified for anybody to understand, especially for accountants and CFOs who have the docket and responsibility of ensuring that risks in organizations are handled. We have written about cyber threat intelligence, real-time intelligence that is beyond SOC and CM. Over to you, Stephen.
So there is a question somebody asked. There is a question somebody asked. It says you could also pay OTT and use VPN as well. It is not exclusive. Yes, we agree, but the point is when somebody is already aware of how to be safety online, it is very difficult for them to pay OTT and also use VPN. What we have seen in the field is that most of the time when people discover VPN, it is like a child who has just learned how to ride a bicycle. It is very difficult for them to never ride a bicycle again. So that is basically what is happening. Then we see another question is, do you think insurance sector has developed the required capacity to provide cyber risk insurance in the market? Thank you very much for this question. I don't know, they are not putting the person who has asked this question, but you realize that insurance is all about mitigating risk. And also insurance is effective when they insure a risk which does not materialize. So now in Uganda, you need specialized brokers and risk assessors who understand the cybersecurity. When you go globally, you realize that one person sells a certain insurance class. For example, if I am doing third party, you'll find that one person sells third party. But in Uganda, because of the nature of the sector and the way brokerage is done, it is like one person is allowed to sell so many products of the insurance industry. So this means that they are on, maybe I would say there is a lot of being on the surface other than going a mile deep. And when you are selling insurance, the best thing is to go a mile deep, whereby you define a given sector and then understand everything. So we don't see that maturity of specialization in a specific product, but we are aware of some brokers who have invested extensively in terms of learning new technologies. There is our partners who are these. They understand cyber insurance, but also sometimes when they in doubt, we are a consultant where we do a risk assessment, ICPAU risk assessment, because when you are doing risk assessment before an insurance product, you are looking at 3 levels. You are looking at threats from external, in which case we call it black box pen test. You are looking at threat from insiders, in which case you are looking at pen test. And then you are looking at overall governance, in which case that is a 360 degree overview. So in the market, we realize that sometimes you go to a client and you find they tell you they have done cybersecurity pen test, when actually the consultant did for them a basic internal audit of the ICT, which is like maybe you are looking at a basic physical audit, somebody is looking at observation implication, and yet when we are doing pen test, you have to prove exploit. An internal auditor, for example, may come and say, we found that your door is ajar but not locked. The implication is somebody could enter into the room and steal furniture or computers. Recommendation, always keep the door locked. Now, unlike that, you see the control of keep the door locked may be unnecessary cost. This is why with pen test, what we do is when we come and find the door is ajar, then we assess the risk somebody could steal. We have to prove exploit, whereby you enter into the room, try to remove the furniture of the computer and go outside and say, you come to the client and say, you see, we found your door ajar and somebody could steal a computer. We actually stole it, you didn't see us. So that extent of proving exploit is what makes a difference between basic IT governance review and the pen test. So we recommend pen test. So once you do that entire review, you are able then to give the client a better risk premium and assessed risk. So that the most important thing for insurance is being preventative, is making specific recommendations to fix. And that's where maybe external expertise is required going forward. But we think that the industry is moving. 8% of the people we found are doing some form of insurance. But now the question is, does insurance improve the overall cyber hygiene at client companies. It appears something like that is not yet being done, maybe. Then somebody says, thanks Barnabas, however, do you say we don't use Wi-Fi at all, or there is something we can do to protect our info even when using Wi-Fi? Yes, when you are using Wi-Fi and you are using VPN, you are more safer because your data is somehow protected and secured. So we would like you to embrace TOR browser, Tor browser. Tor browser is globally the best for being safe online. And if in doubt, then you can use, you see the good thing of not using Chrome or Internet Explorer or any other third-party Internet Explorers browsers, you know. When you use TOR browser, which you can download, it is for free. You are able to have basically high-level security because it doesn't keep cache. It is always incognito, and it is always with a back-end encryption for your own safety. And this is why when we come to your organization and you don't have policy, if I come to your organization and I find some of your staff have TOR browser on the network, then that is a red flag that somebody could be a problem. That's why, but now the question will be, does the policy allow it or doesn't allow it? So if the policy usually doesn't allow it, but somebody has got, it is like you find in your home, somebody says you is the company but comes with a gun. So is that something which is very good? So it cannot say that this is for my personal protection, no. And many times we go to clients, you find somebody is a database admin, a network admin, but then they have entire toolkit for hacking, all pen test tools. So you wonder, you are not in that area. Have you been allowed to use these weapons? The answer is usually not. So the question is, why do you have it? This is why it is very important for leaders to make sure that there is a clear policy of who should have which weapon. So remember, traditionally, the gun was the weapon of choice. But now when everybody goes online, it is the cyber tools, the cyber weapons and warfare, which are the weapons. And you want to make sure that nobody just uses them without approval. Then there's that question is, e-procurement has been seen as, we are going to be stopping at 1:15. So the question shall have answered are those ones. If you share your email, we shall give you the report, which is available. For those people not on this call, usually we sell it at 500,000. And in case you want this report to be presented to your board, we would also be happy to come and engage with your board and top management on the state of cybersecurity. It is very important to create awareness. Pius was talking about big data and the threat intelligence and many things. What he did show you is that almost 98% of the organizations we met did not even know about blockchain in 2018. However, there has been increased awareness of blockchain, but many bodies had not even been trained in blockchain. So this means that there is no conversation of the contemporary future at board level in organizations. And now that becomes a big risk to win. I don't know the person wants to say something, but I wanted to answer the question or no. Okay, please say something.
Thank you very much, Mustafa. I just wanted to let our attendees know that they should feel free to ask the questions on the chat. We will arrange and respond to each and every question, and this will be posted onto our website, the two websites which we are going to share with you. We are also asking our attendees to share their email addresses onto which we will send this report to them. But also, we are asking them to keep checking on our two websites, the website for Summit Consulting and the website for Forensics Institute. We will be uploading this report and the PPT there, so they can also get to access it and download it. And just as time is closing in, let's respond to one other question as we move towards the close. Thank you.
Yes, I think Samuel Setuba has asked a question. There are instances when someone calls you and speaks like your relative or like someone you know, asking for money as if in a crisis. Might this show connivance with elements in telecoms? How do they do that? Now, you see, we talked about personal security. Many of us are feel a very good effect when we are online on social media and posting all kinds of information. When we take a photo using our phone and we don't sanitize that photo, When you sanitize a photo, it means that you remove geolocation information. Even a camera currently has got Google tracking, has got the tracking system within the phone. If you take a picture here, wherever we are now, it will show the location, specific location. So when we are analyzing the metadata of that picture, I can know who you are, who took this photo, blah, 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 blah. So when you post this picture, remember the hackers they are very organized, and they are always prowling the internet looking for anybody who is available with any information. So on one day you share your birthday for the kids. The next day you share your family photos. The third day I'm not saying that you should stop. We know that some people die in their sleep, but nobody has ever stopped sleeping. So also many people can share certain things online, but then they remain sane and share only what should be for public consumption. So you find that you take a photo, even if I'm sharing a photo with my family, I will make sure that I sanitize it. I remove metadata information, so you cannot know where I took that photo, and also you may not know many people in that photo. So because you are able to know the names, because when you are posting it, you tag in the people, so it is easier for me to do footprinting and reconnaissance, to do independent research on you and get this information and know your brother, your son, wherever you are. So this has nothing to do with the telecom conniving with anybody, especially for this kind of crime. It has to do with your own personal reluctance to understand the do's and don'ts. Some of us download the applications from any app store, put it on our phone when we don't know what it does. Some of these are malwares. They collect information about us, and that means that I can call and pretend to be somebody whom you know, and you may not know. But also there is what we call SIM swaps. Somebody could swap your SIM. These are simple gadgets you can buy online. You can even use software SIM swapping, and it is something which is possible within 1 or 2 hours. Somebody can swap your SIM, pretend it needs to be replaced, and owns it for that minute. So there are so many things, some of these things are very difficult to control, but this is the technology. But we think the way somebody calls you as if they're in a crisis has nothing to do with the telecom. I don't know that there is another question which is there, and then we can answer it, but we are at 1 minute time. If you have any live question, you can ask. Otherwise, thanks very much for being a good audience. Make sure that you share all your emails in case you need this presentation. Make sure that you invite us to have this conversation to your organization. And we want to once again to thank the Institute of Banking and Financial Services, Goretti, and your team. You can give us closing remarks. We also want to thank the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda. If Derek is ready, you can also give us a word. If you have a hand, you can raise it and make a comment. We would like to hear the vibrations, whether you have learned something. The detailed report is packed with a lot of data. We would say when it comes to cybercrime, the future of technologies, big data, machine learning, virtual reality, cyber threat intelligence, practical applications of blockchain in financial institutions. In our 100-page Frontline Project report, you'll find this kind of information. And we are happy that you are going, it is like an MBA in cybersecurity. So back to you, Goretti and Derek, and then I can give my colleague Pius to close the call. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mustafa. CPA Derek Nkaja, we are waiting to hear from you. You could unmute and speak to us.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope audible. I may not use the video because of the challenge.
Yes, you have unmuted. Please speak.
Hello? Hello? Pius, are you able to hear me? I think I still have the challenge I may have had in the morning, and I will pass on that. I need
you are loud and clear. Loud and clear you are.
Okay. Thank you, Summit Consulting and Institute of Forensics and IT Security. We thank you for organizing this event. We thank you for really enlightening all the participants. To the participants, I hope you have listened attentively, and the accountancy profession The only thing I would say, please, as the survey has shown that you are the second big team that embraces cybersecurity, please do what we have to do. For practitioners, you hold a lot of private data for clients. That's a weak link, which you must be able to close. That amount of data that you hold can be a disaster for you as a firm, as a practitioner, but at the same time, as the profession. Since we support businesses to grow the economies, let's do what we are supposed to do professionally and close those glitches or those gaps. We all have to understand that the terrain of operations has changed. IT has become a strong enabler. We are into the Internet of Things, and our skill set needs to be upped up to make sure that we can play in that space. I encourage each one of us to take personal security as a key matter. We can no longer be safe in numbers. There is no safety in numbers at all. That we are many, how come they will just attack me? I think the survey shows that anyone is vulnerable for attack. And we need to be aware and address the risks associated with internet. We have to learn more and deploy the right tools. I wish to thank you once again, Summit Consulting and accountants on the call. Please let us do our best to remain professionally up to date with cybersecurity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Gorete, any closing remarks from your side? Thank you very much, Derek, and your team. Thank you. Gorete, back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mustafa. Thank you very much, Pius, and your team for a very enlightening report and research. I must say that you have enlightened us, you have scared us, you have reassured us at the same time and encouraged us. So what I could feel and hear is, and remember, is that man is innately good. However, we have got to support ourselves and support everyone who is working in this environment to remain good. So it's important for us to sanitize our environment and also put in place policies and strategies that will enable us to enjoy technology with minimal risks. You've told us the weaknesses that we have. You've told us all the potential risks that we may have to deal with. You've showed us how little we know, and especially from the board level downward. And I think it's clear what we need to do. Thank you very much for belaboring to put the point forward in a very simple and seamless way. As the Institute, we realize what we need to do in terms of training and of course, how we engage with the community. So we'd just like to thank you and hope that we can continue the partnership between yourselves, ourselves, and ICPA in making sure that cybersecurity is a reality. Thank you.
On the background. Allow me to introduce my team before you leave. There is this man just, Alan, please come, and Peter. These are some of the people we work with. You're going to say gender sensitivity. For some reason, even in our survey, we realized that women are not so much in love with some of these things. So if you have sisters and daughters who would be interested in cybersecurity, make sure that they come to the Institute, they come to ICPAU, they come to IFIS. We are partners in the ecosystem. Gorete, you wanted to say something, please say it.
We are taking this very seriously. It's not a good thing. Even last webinar, when we were talking about big data, everything, all of you were men. And we know that women are more macho in some ways. So we really want to see how women can get into this chapter. Thank you.
Please send us the women who are passionate about technology, especially keeping the right people, keeping guard. And in conclusion, I will say that technology is a very good thing, but like a knife, You can choose to use technology to cut in the right way or to do harm. So the choice is in yours. And the best way is awareness of having a good hand, of what good looks like when you're using the knife. For example, somebody can be given a knife and given a matoke to peel, but they can't do it. So the same thing, some people, they can be given technology and they just leave it unutilized. So we do like this partnership, especially with the institutes, ICPAU and the Institute of Banking and Financial Services. You come and get learning. You see, somebody has asked a question on e-procurement. Government is doing e-procurement, and then what cyber risks do we expect? The biggest challenge we expect is when government is implementing projects, usually in Uganda, it is using almost 100% consultants from abroad without engaging with the private sector, without having local skills transfer. Because if you get somebody who is a seasoned expert from abroad, you need to look in the country which other people have the same exposure and experience, so that these people work with them. When we go to deliver services in Kenya, we go to South Africa, we are required to work through a registered company in Kenya or in Tanzania or in South Africa or in Dubai. So this means that everything we know intellectual property, we have to live with those local people because nobody will pay you a direct check. And now it is so surprising that in Uganda, the accountants on this call will pay somebody from abroad doing a project 100% without that thinking of knowledge transfer. So for e-government procurement, make sure that you have, there are many younger brilliant Ugandans in Makerere. We have had this interaction with these people. There are many younger Ugandans in the companies, even at Summit. If you go to the Institute of ICPAU, you ask experts from the Institute, you get many very experts. You go to the Institute of Banking, even you come to ourselves, because developing the nationals, nobody has the country at heart than the local person. Thank you very much and God bless. Bye-bye.
But I still wanna hold you. Getting over you is just something I can't do. I wanna feel brand new, it's just something I can't do.